So today in this session, I'm going to talk about when and how to validate your product. Um, just a bit recap about me. Have been a designer for more than 5 years now, um, and I have worked in many different clients from different industries in Bahrain and outside Bahrain. I have my bachelor's from Bahrain Polytechnic in visual design, and I have my master's in digital design and branding strategy from London, from Brunel University in London. And also, I have trained in a London-based consultancy called London Els. And currently, I am UI UX designer in a company called LevelZ, which is the mother company of Skiplino, where my role is to design experiences. And also, I'm UX design instructor. I teach UI UX design for people who are interested in UX design and want to make a career career in UX design. Also for product designers, product owners who want to create a digital product and they want to know more about how to help how UI UX help their product. So the agenda of today. So I'm going to do a bit of recap about user experience and the cost of it. And I'm going to talk about the importance of validating your product and when and how to validate your product. So a bit of recap, UX is user experience, which means uh, uh, like when the user is what the user is feeling and saying things and do and the result of using the product. UX design, even though people think it's visual, it's actually not visual. It's a design is a process, and UX design is the process of understanding uh, the wants and needs of the user and delivering it to them. So, what is the cost of UX? I'm going to give you statistics, uh, uh, which proven like how effective is UX. Having positive UX affects your product. So, 70% of buying experiences are based on how user feel and perceive while using a product. Repeat users spend 67% more in individual purchases than new users. 61% of users move to another site if they didn't find what they are looking for right away. 52% of users claim that a poor mobile experience makes them less likely to engage with a company. And 80% never go back to an app if they don't make a good first impression. This is quite important. Fixing a problem in development costs 10 times as much as fixing it in design, and 100 more time as much if you are trying to fix a problem in a product that already been released. The last session I have talked about kind of dangerous of releasing MPV without actually testing the creating a user experience. And also satisfied user tell about 4 to 5 people about their positive experience of a product, and unhappy as much as 8 and 20 people. So imagine releasing a product where it doesn't have a good user experience. It will actually reach more people, and will people more have a bad reaction to your product even though they haven't used it yet. So this kind of statistics establish that user experience is really important factor to your product survival. So having good positive user experience is a matter of survival. So why validating? First of all, when you create a product, you're creating a product based on your assumption that yes, it might be useful. Yes, you're actually solving the problem, and the product is quite easy to use. This is all based on assumption. And yes, you might have spent a lot of time and you did your research, but validating it makes sure that the problem that you're solving, the solution that you have created, and the product is quite easy to use. It's 100% true, not is not assumption. And also we are this is like a problem that designers and product owners have, is that when we spend a lot of time creating a product, uh, we might spend like a month and one flow, and we think yes we perfected it, but when actually when we tested it, we tested the flow from the first minute, the user have a problem. So when we create a product, we actually know the way we move because we created it. We know how to move through the product. We know how to move through the flow, and we think that we have created the perfect solution. But actually, no. You haven't created the perfect product. And users can feel it from the beginning. And also you are not the user, even though like some product you are creating based on your problem and USC, you might have found that multiple people you have the same problem, but you are not going to represent a whole user group. Meaning, let's say that you are creating a product for parents. You might be a father or you might be a mother, but each um, but your product won't be used in one user group. It's not like a mother of one or a father of one. You have multiple user group, like some of them are older parents, some of them are like new parents. So you cannot represent the user. And also because you have created the product, you are not objective enough, so you cannot be the user. So you need to test your product on actual users. So what are the benefits of validating your product? So we remember when I talked about the user experience. The user experience um, uh, it contains three stages. Utility, like how useful is the product. This is where you can test it. You can test how useful is the product before actually creating. This is the first stage. uh, you can test it, is the product going to be useful. You can test the usability, how easy the product is being used. Is the product is quite easy to use. So you actually can test that. Also how desirable is the product, you can test. So you need to test, you need to get feedback in all these stages, and you need to test all these stages. Also when you create the product, you might have a long list of solutions, same as features. You'll have a lot of these, uh, but you cannot roll out all the solution at the same time. So because you will have kind of two problems. You will face two problems. First of all is the cost and time. Like rolling out all these features and solutions in the same time will cost time and money. And second of all, you especially for a new product, you cannot have all kind of feature where you will confuse the product. You'll confuse the users about the product. In the beginning, you need to be direct. So testing it, you actually will help you find out which the solutions that needed right now, and what solution can be for later, and also what solution can be for in the future. And also in each step, in each stages of creating this solution, you can test it out and find out, like maybe you will find out new problems that you can solve before actually rolling out the new features. Also, it's testing your product can be a benchmark against existing product. So when you release, especially for a new product, when you release them, People have users have already expectation on how products behave. Plus, if you're uh, releasing a product that's quite similar, there is like you have a lot of competitors, you need to make sure that your product that you're releasing is better than your competitor, and it's more easier and more useful than your competitors. So you don't want to do this after you release. You want to make sure that it's actually good before it's being released. And most importantly is identify missed issues. So if you like when you create your product in design phase or development phase, you might think that you have created the perfect flow and your product quite perfect, but especially errors actually affects user experience a lot, and you want to make sure that you're preventing it before you're releasing the product. Plus, like in a perfect world, you wouldn't have any error in your product, but even like the largest companies will have errors. And also it makes sure that when you like when the user come in and find the error, it's quite easy for them to recover by themselves instead of calling uh, customer support. So validating your product can identify these kind of issues. Most importantly is, and actually in general, validating your product, it will reduce the risk of your product to fail. This is like a huge point. And also to reduce cost in all departments and design, because designer will have a clear direction on what the user needs and want. And development, from the statistic that I showed you, it reduced the time and development time, cost and development time. Also marketing and customer support. So there is a lot of impact in all departments. So it will reduce the cost a lot. And the most important thing is validating your product will make your product better, have a better user experience. So when to validate? So this is the stages, usually the stages of building a product from the beginning, and or even just a feature. So we always start with a problem, which is the idea, and then we have the solution, and then we have the design, development, and product. So which stages that you need to validate? In all stages, each stage you need to validate your decision. So when you have a problem in the beginning, so a new product or a new feature, you need to check that um, if the user actually have the problem. When you validate that yes, they are having the problem, you need to validate the solution. Is the solution is the right solution for the problem? So you need to validate that. Also, when you move to design, you need to validate, is the design is the right design for the solution. And then when you move to development, is the development is done well, is complement the design. And also after, when you create the product and release it, you need to test it again. So in each stage, you need to test your product to make sure that when the product is being released is risk-free. So how to validate? We need to validate as scientists. We actually use scientist methods to validate the idea. So the same as scientists, we have qualitative method and we have quantitative method. Um, For qualitative, we have user interviews. There is a lot of types, but this is the most common and the simplest methods. So we have user interviews, field studies, and moderated usability tests. Qualitative research, qualitative method, it's it's for understanding the user behavior, the user like wants and needs. It's understanding the user psychology. It's more of it's observe, like you observe the users, you understand them. For quantitative research, you have online surveys and A/B testing. Quantitative research are used for to show trends, to learn trends, and learn what's popular. Uh, so, for example, if you're creating, let's say, a streaming service, in the qualitative method, you will understand why why the streaming service is quite important for the user, what it will affect, what will be the effect in the user life, and also the insights of their behavior. So why would they choose not watching the TV and use your streaming service? By quantitative research, you will find out if your streaming service can be watched like in desktop or in mobile. So this is kind of the example. Both of them also, like both of them can be used to attract investors. If you have the result of this, you can actually have hard data to convince the investor that yes, my product actually is it works. So what is the steps of the method? Like for both methods, these are the steps that you need to follow. So for this, first of all, you need to define the hypothesis, your assumption. And then you need to choose your method, like which qualitative, quantitative, which one exactly. And then you need to define your participants. So from your UX research, you need to have like your user group, and who are your user, and this is where you're going to test on them. You're not you cannot test it on everyone. You're not going to have proper data, and then you will do the experiment, and then you will have the result, and you will have the analysis of the result, and then you can implement it in your product. Uh, the most important thing is that your product, your experiment is objective. It provides objective data. Um, this is to make sure that the decision that it comes out from the result and the analysis is the right decision. Uh, I'm going to give you a few examples of um, huge companies using validation for their product. So Shopify, it's an online. So I'm sure I'm not sure if you know it or not. It's an e-commerce website where uh, users can open up their online store and pay product. So actually, they have a new product. It's called Shopify Expert. So Shopify Expert is a product where merchant can hire expert, which is freelancer, to help them with their with their work. So it's like a freelance platform to hire freelancer. So what is their hypothesis? Their hypothesis is that if the merchant finds the expert's profile page easy to navigate, they are more likely to reach out to the expert and potentially hire them. So they chose the qualitative method, which is user interviews and something called card sorting studies. So with user interviews, they went to the merchant itself and they asked them what kind of information that you need from the freelancer for you to for them to hire, like what kind of information. And then the card sorting is actually a method to show which information are quite important. So which information they put on the top, and then which information they can put it for later. So they brought actually the merchant, and they created the card sorting. They did the cotton sorting experiment. So what is the result? Actually, the result was that it didn't matter much is what the information that the freelancer is giving. It was actually how the freelancing is communicating with them, and how they prefer profile to be more human and less transactional. So it's completely different than their hypothesis. Like they thought like what kind of information that they need and everything. But actually is that the way it's written, like how the freelancing is communicating with the merchant. Another case study, which is Netflix. Netflix is they're actually really well known for their UX testing. They test almost every single feature in their product, and I really suggest for you to actually go and read a lot of their use their study cases. Just make sure that it's not student. It's a real study case, not a student study case. So this is an example for later stage validating validation. Um, Actually, Netflix have like extreme like they use a lot of A/B testing, especially because they already been released, and they have a huge users where they can use the A/B testing. So let's go through them. So what's their hypothesis? Their hypothesis is like it's saying personalizing content can be positive effect on the user experience. So what they do is that they create a different. They will choose a quantitative, which is the A/B testing, and then they will create a variation of each what like meaning of personalizing content. So we always think that A/B testing is just like testing one variant, like if the button is on the left or the button is on the right, which one it will be more clickable. But actually, no. What Netflix is doing is that they're creating a completely different solution for their hypotheses. Meaning, so personalizing content can be mean the images. Can be mean the way the movies are displayed, or it means like a new completely new feature of like let's say adding favorites, or they have like the match like 65% match. So they create a different solution for this hypothesis, and then they would release it to the public, and then they would choose one that's the most uh, positive. They have like most that succeeded variant, and they use it as a moderate. um, and then when they choose like the successful one, they create variation, like small variation of each of this the same uh, the one that they released, they chose. So what is the result of these hypotheses? So one of them is actually images. They they found out that personalizing uh, the images, the movie images, depending based on the viewer, like the user's viewing habits. So if you are like a person who likes horror, the images of the movie will change to like very like reflecting a horror. It has more of horror theme to it, and because of this small change, the video, the clicking video have increased to 20 and 30%, to 20 to 30%. So this is there's small, like this is a huge study. So go read more about it, and it's quite interesting. Uh, One last thought is that everything can be tested. Everything, when you create an app, everything from like a small variant to like a whole idea or a problem. But you need to be selective on what you're testing, because it does take effort and resources. Um, and some of the and you need to like check study cases, because it's been tested. There is some cases that already been tested, so you can actually implement the same idea. But also do your own testing for something that you're not sure about, so you can test everything. uh, in the last session, a lot of people ask about which is the resources that I go through. So I thought that I'm going to uh, show it here uh, for you to read. So I read a lot from UX Collective. They have a huge articles and use study cases about product. UX Matter, Interaction Design Foundation are the same. So they have a huge amount of information. Human Centered Design UAE, check them in LinkedIn. They usually have sessions the same as this, talking about UX and the effect. And because they are in UAE, they bring a lot of case studies from UAE, which is, I think it's closer to Bahrain environment. They're really good. And also Medium, they have a lot of UX designers write about their experiences and while creating a product. Uh, for to for new If you are interested to read about user experience, this is quite beginner books, it really helped me for my career. The design of everything, of everyday things. Don Norman is actually the father of UX design, so read about him. Also, Hooked. This is a book I'm currently reading. It's about how to build habit-forming product. It's quite interesting book to read. Also, if you want to learn more about UX design and you need help with to build your product, I am UX design instructor in GoMyCode. So if you are interested, check their website, also their Instagram, GoMyCode Bahrain, for more information.